I'm Gary McCoy, and we're on remote here at the Doghouse up in Chula, Georgia. Since this is the Doghouse, my nephew Kyle is a Georgia graduate. He's a double dog, as they say, and having graduated from the university itself with a bachelor's degree, and then went to law school there. And he's written a book that I'll let him tell you about in just a moment. And I think he did a little journalism work while he was in college, and let him tell you about that. So welcome, Kyle. Glad to see you down here in South Georgia.
It's good to be back, and I appreciate you having me. The book is called Fighting Like Cats and Dogs. It's the history of the Georgia-Clemson rivalry. Of course, this used to be a very big series annually played between these two teams. Has been a little bit more infrequent in the last few years, but obviously we're about to get it cranked up again with Georgia and Clemson playing in 2013 and 2014. And just perfect timing, in my opinion, for the book to let everybody know that as we're getting ready for a top 10 matchup, that this has happened before.
Kyle is his roots are in South Georgia. His mama is my sister, and our side of the family is from Turner and Worth counties down to Lowndes County, and then his dad's family and his dad are from South Central Georgia, up around Wilcox County, maybe a little further up. So he's down here used to this heat, but he's from a little bit further up in the state. What made you be a Georgia fan?
Well, just grew up, as you know, my dad's a big Georgia fan, and we just grew up as a Bulldog family. The first times I went to the university were going there for football games with my dad, and then was fortunate enough to go there as a student, and I've continued to remain loyal to the university, and now taking my son to games. So we're going on 3 generations of Bulldog fans.
I believe you and your son are going to be there Saturday night.
That is correct. This will be his first road game. I've taken him to football games before, taken him to a few road games in basketball and baseball. First time he's going to be going on the road for a football game, though.
Well, we're going to test his knowledge a little bit here, folks. He says he's a Georgia fan. Here at the Doghouse, I was going through some stuff last night, and I found this 1984 program from Sanford Stadium there in Athens. It's the Clemson game, as you can see. Do you remember that game?
I do. I was not there. I didn't see it on TV. Clemson was on probation at the time, so it was not televised. My dad was there, and I believe you were there as well. This is the game where Kevin Butler defeated the number 2 Clemson team on a 60-yard record-setting field goal in the final minute of the game. One of the most electrifying moments, gave rise to what I believe is Louis Grizzard's most memorable column that he wrote to the son he hoped one day to have, explaining to him why he was named Kevin. And I think probably Larry Munson's best home play call. You know, we had some great ones in Knoxville and Jacksonville and at Auburn, but the best one, I think, in Sanford Stadium, a game between the hedges, where he said Kevin Butler was going to kick 100,000 miles. And it's just a very, very exciting moment.
And he did. Those of us, we can remember that. Now, one thing I can't remember is was that the first game with lights, or had that taken place a little bit before?
That was 2 years earlier. It's what we call the night the lights went on in Georgia. It was in 1982 when they moved the Georgia-Clemson game to Labor Day night. It was being played that Monday evening. It was on national TV. And of course, the 2 previous national champions, Georgia in 1980, Clemson in 81. And it was the first time in almost 30 years that Georgia had played a game at night between the hedges.
Okay, now, the things we just talked about, say the 84 game, the 82 game, are those examples of sort of what you go into in the book?
Yeah, the print edition of the book covers from 1977 up until 2003, the most recent game prior to, of course, this year's meeting. And that's really the heyday of the rivalry. 1977 was Charlie Pell's first year as the head coach at Clemson. It's the first year that Clemson had beaten Georgia in Athens since 1914. And it began that great run between 77 and 87, where you had 2 teams usually ranked certainly in the top 25, often in the top 10. And in that 11-year stretch, Georgia won 5, Clemson won 5, and there was 1 tie. And 9 of those 11 meetings were decided by 7 points or fewer. So you had highly competitive games between 2 top-ranked teams over the course of a decade. In my opinion, in that period, there was no better rivalry in the country.
And this is really not a book about Georgia. It's about the rivalry itself.
That's correct. I mean, each chapter covers a game in the series, tries to put it in the context of what was going on both campuses, in the country, in college football, and really tracing both teams through their seasons. Each chapter we go through that particular year's meeting. The book was published actually by the Clemson University Digital Press, so I hope it's a testament to its even-handedness that a Georgia fan could write it and the Clemson Press would publish it.
Well, that's pretty good. That's
Yeah.
pretty good. A lot of Georgia fans, particularly the younger ones, the Florida game, the Tech game, maybe not so much the Tech game as much with the older people. Why Clemson? Why Clemson? And when everybody gets all excited about South Carolina and
Right.
other members of the Southeastern Conference.
Well, I was born a couple of years after Bobby Dodd left Georgia Tech, and I graduated from college the year that Steve Spurrier coached his first game in Gainesville. So for me, in my formative years as a fan, it wasn't Florida and Georgia Tech. Those are teams we beat all the time. For me, it was the two sets of Tigers. Auburn was our toughest conference game. Clemson was our toughest non-conference game. So for me, as a Georgia fan growing up, looking at those games in the late 70s and throughout the 80s, those were the games I was worried about. And for me, this book is kind of like Bill Cromartie's book, Clean Old-Fashioned Hate, which is, of course, about the Georgia Tech rivalry. The difference is, for Bill Cromartie, if you're a Georgia fan, whether you're 8 or you're 80, you've known the Georgia Tech rivalry every year of your life. So you didn't have to ask, why is he writing a book about Georgia Tech? You understood. Younger fans, I agree with you, are asking, why Georgia Clemson? And the answer is because we've been a huge part of one another's histories for over 100 years, and I think we need to remember that as we're heading into a renewal of the series.
Yeah, I like the fact we're playing them again. When I was in law school up there in the late 70s, early 80s, we played them. And Georgia won the national championship in 80 and Clemson 81.
81 is that very next year.
So
That's right.
that was really a big rivalry in those days. And I think now this year, 2013, we're talking about both of them in the top 10, maybe
Right.
top 5 or 6.
That's right. And Dabo Swinney, the coach at Clemson, has said that this is going to be a throwback kind of game. And I think he's right in one sense, that you do have nationally televised night game, 2 top 10 teams, both contenders in their conferences, both potential contenders nationally. And in that respect, it will be. But that 1982 game that was played under very similar circumstances ended 13-7. Both touchdowns were scored off of turnovers deep in the opponent's territory. I don't think we're going to see a 13-7 game Saturday night.
I'd take it. I don't know.
I'd take it too. Yes, I would. Yes, I would.
I think anybody that's pulling for either team would take it as long as their team had the 13.
Yep.
Now it's called Fighting Like Cats and Dogs.
That's correct.
Obviously the Clemson Tigers and the Georgia Bulldogs.
Right.
And how can folks get that if they want a copy of it?
Well, it's easy to remember. The website where you can order it is fightinglikecatsandogs.com. You can go in and put your credit card information. I'll get it out to you. And if you want it autographed, just let me know and I'll inscribe it to you and send it right out to you.
Okay. Well, you put.
Yeah, I will put. If you order one, I'll put to Gary McCorvey.
You want to put Uncle Gary?
Well, I'll put Uncle Gary if you want that. I made him say something nice about you.
Well, that's good. I might point out that Kyle is also a lawyer. Tried to talk him out of that, but I'm sure that he's done a good job with this. You know, there have been some other books written. I got one here, Glory, as you can see. I hadn't even taken the wrapper off.
Right.
And then you mentioned the Cromartie book.
Correct. It's Clean Old-Fashioned Hate.
Right. And what was the one, the Georgia?
Cale Connolly wrote a book about Georgia, Florida called War Between the States.
Right, that's correct. So this is sort of in that line of...
Right, yeah, it's very much in that same line. I like to point out, too, Bill Cromartie's a Georgia graduate, Cale Connolly's a Georgia graduate, I'm a Georgia graduate. So whenever fans of other schools are talking about us being poorly educated and illiterate, how come we're the ones writing all the books?
I got it. Could be because we win most of the games.
Yes.
So, anyway, but it's been fun, and I'm glad that Hayward and I finally got together and got the first taping. We're going to do a few more of these things, and I would ask you if you would to remember the name of the book, the website, and give it a try. I think Hayward's going to make a photo of the book. We don't have one on location here, but we'll get that for you, and you could also call me, and I'll put you in contact with Kyle. So any parting shots you want? Don't they say that on TV shows?
Right.
Yeah. or especially sports shows.
Yeah, I do want to thank you for having me on here and for discussing it. And it's nice to be able to get together and talk about Georgia football.
All right, me too. Good luck.
Thank you.
Easy. Thank you.